And more people should talk on LinkedIn about how you should decide if it's time to quit your job.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your no-fluff guide to artificial intelligence in higher ed. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing nearly 20 years of edtech and marketing expertise straight to your earbuds. Higher ed leaders are expected to master AI overnight, but let's be real, no one has time to sift through every headline, hot take, or research report. That's why every Monday, I'll break down what actually matters. Fast, clear, and to the point. Want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next team meeting? You're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Higher Ed Pulse. Today, we are celebrating. It's episode 100, and we're doing it reunion style. I've got Seth Odell and Zach Busekrus back on the mic. For this milestone episode, we're going to give a little nostalgia and a lot of truth-telling. There will be receipts, there might be regrets, and yes, there will be a burn book. Y'all, I am so happy. These guests do not need any introduction yet. I'll do it anyway. Seth Odell is the founder and CEO of Kanahoma, a longtime higher ed marketing strategist known for cutting through noise and calling out what actually works. He has been in the mix for nearly every major shift in enrollment marketing over the last 15 years and was my Pulse co-host for my first 55 episodes. And last but not least is Zach Busekrus. The man, myth, and legend is back. Zach is the founder of Enrollify and this podcast feed's original host. Today, Zach is heading up product marketing and growth strategy at Journey, a site that allows travelers to earn points and perks across a curated network of unique, independently operated properties and hosts the Behind the Stays podcast. Guys, welcome back to the Pulse.
So great to be here.
Good to be back. Thanks for having us. It's fun to get together.
I wish we could have done this in person. You know, it would have been even more fun. But alas, thanks for
with
thanks
a
for,
live
for
audience. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh!
For the 200th, okay, for the 200th.
There we go. Put
right.
it on the calendars now.
I love it. I love it. Well, in roughly 200 weeks, we know where we will be. Perfect. Sounds good. All right, guys. Episode 100. It's a pause. It's a moment of celebration, but we also have to take inventory because when Enrollify launched, thanks to Zach, higher ed marketing was operating on a completely different set of assumptions. We've lived 3 lives since then. We've lived through the Facebook lookalike audience era, the everybody needs a chatbot era, and now AI is rewriting labor and trust era. And if we're being honest, a lot of the advice that we all gave 5, 6, 7 years ago, it had an expiration date. So today is a reunion with a purpose. We're zooming out because much of what sounded smart in 2019 no longer maps to how students discover, decide, or trust institutions today. And yet, many marketing teams, they're still being evaluated and resourced as if nothing fundamental has changed. And then we're going to get a little unhinged, y'all. We're going to have some fast rounds, some hot seat takes, and yep, even a burn book. So this episode, while it's not about dunking on the past, it is for the senior leaders who have survived those budget cuts, those enrollment cliffs, the endless platform churn, and the emotional whiplash of do more with less, all while being asked to innovate like a startup. We're going to honor the history, but we're also leaving some of those beloved buzzwords face down in the street. So Zach, I am looking at you first. When this show started back in 2019, the advice sounded different because our world was different. Funnels maybe felt stable and channels maybe felt predictable. But as you look back, what is a belief that you were loud about that aged like bad milk?
I love this one. I did not have to think too hard on this. It was bidding on your own branded search terms, right? Ooh. So colleges and universities used to spend loads of money. Seth probably knows about how much money, more than I do, but on branded keywords for their paid search strategy. And I always thought that was ridiculous, right? If a user was searching for your particular college or university and they see the ad link, maybe they'll click that link or they'll scroll down to find the college or university they're looking for. I mean, there's no greater intent than actually searching for a product or a service, or in our case, an institution's brand name. However, today, I don't know when the last time you've Googled anything is, right? And we could talk about SEO and GEO and AIEO, depending on who you talk to.
LMNOP, QRS.
LMNOP, yeah. Old McDonald, And so I just think, but the point is now, right? If you Google anything like product name, service name, right, institution name, the only result that you see is the paid result, right? So like Google in their efforts to figure out what they think the future of search should be for the consumer, at least on desktop and certainly on mobile, you search for University of California, right? If the University of California is not bidding on that particular term, right, you have to scroll right past the feed in order to see the organic results, because you got the promoted result, the sponsored result up first. It takes up a lot of real estate, and then you've got the AI overview summary, and then a couple of other related links. So to summarize this quickly, I think if you want to appear above the fold for your prospective students today, you absolutely have to be bidding on your branded keywords, which is something I would have said in 2019 was just a waste of money.
Good one, Seth. What do you think about that?
I got a lot of hot takes that cooled over time. Probably the two I'd say. One was I was a pretty aggressive AI skeptic, and there's a lot of sound bites of me questioning a whole lot of stuff
on this podcast.
On this podcast, and for folks that were regular listeners, I think you got to experience my evolution of realizing how wrong I was, and I am very much on the other side of that. And so that was a big one. Was wait and see is not the right strategy for stuff that's going to be this disruptive. And then the second one for the OG listeners, I may or may not have at one point said I was going to fold 1,000 paper cranes, and I folded exactly one of them, and so that take certainly did not hold.
And it is sitting in a beloved spot on my bookshelf in my living room, Seth.
There we go.
The one and only.
The one and only.
I love that. AI's kind of changed our world a little bit, right? I would say certainly in the last 3-4 years, but back in 2019, we weren't dealing with some of that stuff. And Zach, you said you see the paid search results on top. Well, actually, you see the AI overview on top. And then you see the paid, and then you see the organic. And I think that this moment has really forced us all to kind of rethink maybe what we thought was good content strategy back in 2019.
Yeah.
Curious to hear you guys sound off on that.
Yeah, I just think completely. It's completely changed from my perspective, and the lines have blurred from paid and organic completely. And we're even in our world rethinking even SEO fundamentally, beyond the obvious evolution of traditional SEO to GEO and AEO, generative and answer engine. It's more about a real holistic approach to content strategy that goes way beyond the brand and drills into areas of expertise and areas of study. That's the biggest shift, I think, is that the future of search is fundamentally going to be different. People are searching earlier and deeper, and it is much less transactional and much less trackable. It's definitely a different world.
Zach, you've got insights now from outside the industry, and I'm really curious to get your perspective on this.
I was just going to double down on what Seth was saying, but also saying I feel like the boring aspects of marketing are having a moment, right? Meaning the people that actually did the work of structuring their content well, right, on their websites, the people that did the work of, being religious about H1 tags and H2 tags, right, and their paragraph text. I mean, the results that you're seeing surface in whether you use Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, right, AI tools are only as powerful as the structure of the data that they're pulling that content from, and the people who are winning right now are the people that actually spent the time structuring content appropriately.
Said. Totally agree.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've just personally have been blogging again on MalloryWillsea.com, little plug. But, and they're great. You should go read them. But actually, I do care that you read them, but I also don't care. I'm writing those blog posts for AIs, this new world of GEO. And that is how I'm writing the posts. That's how I'm structuring them. I learned a lot from working with Manifera, little shout out to them, when I was at Element 451. And I think the approach to writing and like you said, the unsexy stuff about marketing, spot on. All right, guys. So let's be fair, though, because we've been dunking on our old opinions, but not everything we used to think was trash, right? So what channel, strategy, or instinct actually maybe held up better than you thought, even with this AI world, all the budget cuts, the enrollment cliff, all these challenges? Seth, I'll toss this one to you first.
Yeah, I would say two things. The first, just to hit on the point previously made, like the focus on the fundamentals. I'd like to think that's a banner I've flown since my first episode with you. Yeah. That is without a doubt true. Budget management, conversion rate optimization, sound audience strategy, that stuff all still wins. And that is like the baseline has not changed at all. The second thing I would say is that the platform is not on fire. It is just fundamentally changing. And what I mean by that is like we've had multiple partners reach out to us like we're spending too much on Google and ChatGPT is changing everything, and it's like it's actually not. Check the data. The trend is that it will, and I think we all agree we're going to get there, and in almost all cases faster than we think. But the worst thing you can do is retreat off of effective strategies that work today, chasing a strategy that's not available yet. I mean, like there will be new ad units in AI, and they will perform worse than the ad units we have today. Eventually, they will perform better, and we will migrate to a new strategy. But I think the reality is you got to hold on to paid search, paid social, fundamental conversion rate optimization. Yes, focus on the future, but the old playbook still yields revenue. And so you don't want to throw it out. You just need to outgrow it.
Zach, what do you think?
100% agree there too with Seth. What I said actually was stories as like a content format. So I remember when like stories first came out on Snapchat, right? Snapchat was the OG stories. And I remember being like, who's going to like actually watch this? Who's going to care about like the unpolished content that I put out on social, right? And there was Snapchat, for love it, hate it, whatever. It really introduced this idea that UGC content in its purest format could be engaging to people, right? Could be meaningful. Obviously, Instagram came in and it's totally transformed what we think about stories today. The number of content creators that make well over six figures is just increasing exponentially year over year. UGC content in general is exploding. And so what I think aged better than I expected was just the attention grab, really, that individual people, regardless of if they were a student, a faculty member. I was talking to actually a Southwest pilot who's an influencer yesterday, randomly, right? So he's got like hundreds of thousands of followers and just talks about how much he loves Southwest, right?
Wow.
And so point being, like, literally anyone across any domain in any category with even minimal to no true expertise, but just interesting stories to tell or an interesting perspective on the world can amass serious influence, serious attention. So this whole idea of like influencer marketing being a moment, right, or influencer marketing being reduced to celebrities like the Kardashians, I think we can all agree that notion has been squashed. Anyone can be a creator. And quite frankly, when it comes to attention today, creators have way more pull than any mainstream media outlet does. And so from an investment perspective, from an advertising perspective, I think we're only going to see a doubling down on investments in creators. Now, I also have a hot take on how the creator will evolve that we can get into in a little bit. But that's something that I think in general aged a lot better than at least I was expecting it to.
Well, I'm jotting a note down, creator evolution, because I do want to make sure we come back to that. One of the things you just reminded me, actually, one of the things that I really have been beating the drum on for, I'd say probably a decade. And thankfully, I think it's held up in light of all the things you just said, is that people want to follow people. People, like, yes, they might follow the brand, but I remember back in 2008, I was primarily following brands so I could tweet at them and be like upset, oh, my flight got delayed. No, people want to follow people. We like to connect. It's human to human. It is storytelling. It is all those things. And when we think about building community and when we think about reaching our prospective students all the way to our alumni, it's the human stories that continue to matter. And along the lines of people following people, I am afraid my next question might actually lose us some followers. I hope that doesn't happen. Zach, I'm going to turn it back to you on this one. What is a piece of advice that maybe sounds smart on LinkedIn, but is quietly harming marketing teams right now?
Great question. So this might lose us some subscribers for sure. So I think for a long time it's been sexy to say that email marketing is dead, right? And then everyone talks about, right, why email marketing isn't dead. And every year there's someone who pulls all these stats together that says, look at all the attention, look at all the conversions that are actually coming from email. It's not dead. It's not dead. It's not dead. And I think the value of the email, or maybe how we've traditionally thought about the email, is dead. And here's what I mean by this. how many unread emails? You guys might be unique, but in your personal email inbox, not your work email, right? How many unread emails in your inbox do you have? Just guess, Seth, Mallory.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh
I
my
have
gosh.
1,754.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mallory.
That's in the main inbox in Gmail, not even getting
not
into
even in promotions.
No,
right? Not even in
my
the social
promotions
tab.
is 91,135.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers
so-
are similar. I just clear them out a little faster. I don't read them, though.
Yeah. You're just clearing faster. So I did a quick little ChatGPT analysis here. So it's estimated, right, that of people of our rough generational cohort who are working professionals have a 10-to-1 ratio in terms of 10x the number of unread emails in their personal inbox than they do their work emails, with an average of 600 unread emails, right? Which that's an average, right? I think I'm sitting at about 2,000 unread right now, right? I keep getting the alerts from Google saying like, hey, like I have to pay to upgrade my storage to keep my emails. Now, again, we're talking about students, right? But so I went and talked to my youngest sibling is 18, and she literally was like, oh, I literally never check my email. Now, again, sample size 1. Email, I think, is still a channel that's obviously worth doing, but I think the advice that we get on LinkedIn that you might hear about is, the amount of time that we're investing in email is probably inappropriate today. Email, I think, should be treated like we think about like a billboard, right? Or like we think about a brand share strategy. I think it's moving from a conversion kind of tool only to more. It should reinforce communications that are happening on social, right? Social has gotten incredibly good at being a tool for conversion, right? I mean, brands across if you can't at least submit an RFI, right, on social via your institution's brand page, you're literally living in the dark ages at this point. These tools have gotten so good. They're only going to get better. And so I think the idea of email being this golden child for conversion is going to continue to wane. And I think it's still very important to reinforce messaging, but stop obsessing over, the amount of times the marketing teams have traditionally spent on email marketing particularly, shift that time to great social and not just general brand advertising, but really good conversion-centric social content, and dramatically reduce the amount of time that you spend trying to personalize every email to your various constituents. So that's the hot take I'd have there.
I love it. All right, Seth, where are you going to go with this one?
So mine, I'm going up to about 60,000 feet. Everything everybody puts on LinkedIn, myself included, is about how to win. And it's about how to figure out in a crowded, complex market how to perform better and how to make things perform better. But there's like this underlying unspoken premise underneath that, which is, I apparently have some fireworks behind me, which is, there we go, hot take incoming.
Let's go.
Hot take incoming, which is that there is this unspoken assumption behind all the advice on LinkedIn that every game is winnable, and every game is not. And more people should talk on LinkedIn about how you should decide if it's time to quit your job. Because I have so many private conversations with CMOs in higher ed that reach out to me and we talk about, is it time to quit? Is this not a winnable game at this institution? Where do I go from here? What do I do next? And even I don't talk about that publicly. And I just think the bad advice is, if everything is about how to win, we're building this false assumption that every game is winnable, and I don't think that serves people. Sometimes you're in an unwinnable game, and it is time to quit your employer and go work for yourself or go work for someone else. And I don't think there's a lot of great advice out there on how to assess that, because it's a gray area that we live in. It is not cut and dry, and I think it's a mistake that we're giving the impression that every game is winnable and everyone should stay and play.
My hot take is that it's twofold. It's that all the advice on LinkedIn is obvious, and the people who are the loudest on LinkedIn are doing the least amount of work. I'm just going to leave that there. Onward, we're going to speed things up, friends. This is going to be quick, little, fast, fun, sharp, host-to-host rounds here. Seth, what's the hill that you die on about higher ed marketing in 2026?
The two worst things you can do with AI is either ignore it and put your head in the sand, or believe everything you're being sold and just buy stuff off the shelf. The hardest thing to do is to spend so much time in the murky middle to figure out where progress actually stops and false promises actually begin. And I feel like everyone's on one camp or the other. They're either like anti-AI outside of an LLM, or they're down to give hundreds of thousands of dollars to the next vendor that sells something shiny. And the truth is, no, go spend 100 hours and figure out exactly how far you can push the tools that are there. And I think most marketers aren't doing that. They're either outsourcing to a vendor or they're ignoring the reality of where we're headed.
All right, Zach, climb your hill.
Yeah, so good, Seth. Mine's very closely related. I said that the teams that will win are the teams who will have their creative departments create playbooks for AI agents so that, average people with an idea like, yours truly can create content without waiting for design and dev resources. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to live in a world where creatives will design playbooks for agents to use to create content so that the pace at which content can be created is just dramatically increases. And you don't have to know anything about Figma to be able to create a beautiful landing page with Replit, for example.
Yeah. My hill is that if we don't start investing in building community within our brands now, we will just continue to fall farther and farther behind. And that community can indeed be a Trojan horse for fixing issues that stem from the first conversation with a buyer all the way to the retention of a customer, or in our higher ed world, the retention of your student. All right. Zach, back to you. What's a trend that you think is overrated as we head into this year?
A brand refresh. Maybe it's not just unique to 2026, but in general, it's like either go all the way, like have the cojones to like go big and just go full-fledged on brand redesign, or don't, right? A brand refresh, right, is, I don't know, it's like putting lipstick on a pig, as folks might say, right? And not to say that you can't do it well. I just think it's like, it's not a ballsy move, and we're living in a world, especially in higher ed today, where you have to be ballsy, right? Otherwise, stay true to what you know.
For me, a trend that's overrated is anything related to like complex audience list building that still just results in a mediocre display ad campaign. It's so much harder to track people now in a largely cookieless world, and there's so many solutions out there of like, we can target people and geo this and that, and we'll build you these lists, and then it still just ends with a display ad that nobody clicks. And like, I don't know why people chase this. Audience list building, I think, is like 1/3 substance and 2/3 fluff.
I think that believing a podcast is going to solve all your problems is an overrated trend. Onward,
Except
skill.
for this one. Except for this one. But all others, totally agree. Yeah, we're the high water line.
Zach, what is one skill that every CMO needs now that was not required when you started Enrollify?
Understanding the human cost versus the AI cost to do something, right? So I think like CMOs have to get really, really smart and understand, is this new email design or landing page design or this campaign or Seth's display ad, is it worth a human doing or is it worth an AI agent doing? And what is the actual cost of that? And I think the reality is like the AI is going to win a lot of the time, right? And that's going to be hard and for a zillion reasons. But I think that it's up to leadership to really make those hard decisions on like, is this something that just because Mallory did it for the last 10 years, should she keep doing it or should she use her time elsewhere? Is this something that we want our agents to do or we want our humans to do? And there will be things that you'll want your humans to do that you won't, want your agents to do. And that's perfectly good and right. But I think good leaders need to help their teams, need to guide their teams in this direction.
Seth, I'm asking you a different question. What's one sentence you're tired of hearing on your client campuses?
Oh my God, we're the best kept secret. No, you're not. You can't be, because 10 other people told me that last month. And like, if you were the best, you wouldn't be a secret. So let's just move on from that conversation.
Bam. All right, guys, it's time to open the burn book. I'm going to say a phrase. You're going to tell me what it actually means. You get like 2 sentences max. And if you go longer or you hedge, I'm cutting you off and I'm going to the other person. So let's move quickly here. The phrase is strategic enrollment marketing. Zach, what does that mean?
I think it's a confused term. It's trying to do too much with too little.
Everything you do should be strategic. So if you have to put strategic in the title, it means you're actually not.
The next phrase, AI readiness. Seth.
AI readiness means that we're trying to appease board pressure.
Zach?
I was going to say, we listened to One Too Many Higher Ed podcasts telling us that we should be AI ready.
Potentially me. All right. The phrase is, we just need more awareness. What about you, Zach?
I was going to say, it means you have no idea what converts.
I think mine is, we can't explain our value in a sentence, so we're going to buy ourselves time. All right. Zach, back to you. The phrase is, we don't have the budget.
The phrase "we don't have the budget" actually means we really don't have the money and we're not willing to fire people.
I think it means we don't trust this to drive actual outcomes that we can defend internally.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Those were the muddied thoughts, but you said that I had Mallory, but you said it so much more polished. So,
all right, then I'm just going to skip to the next one and send it back to you, Zach. Our last phrase, let's pilot this.
We haven't done enough research to decide whether or not we're willing to really go all in. And so we're going to get mediocre results because we ran a mediocre test.
Seth?
This is the only one for me in asterisk. It depends. I actually think pilots are amazing and they're brilliant. However, in almost all cases, it's actually just a cop-out for true risk.
Mm-hmm. I think it means we're afraid to be accountable if this fails. Yeah. All right. We're going to keep the hot seat rolling. You guys are going to answer a couple more questions before we wrap this one up, but you only get about a minute to respond, or maybe even less. First question. What do you believe now that would have gotten you fired in 2019? Who wants to take it first?
Oh, I'll take it. True marketing attribution is not achievable. And in 2019, if I said that, I'd be like, no, we all had to chase attribution and we were moving beyond like direct first and last touch. And look, it's 2026. It's not achievable. You can certainly increase visibility, but true complete attribution is not available in today's world. And if acknowledging that 5 years ago would have gotten you canned.
Specialists are going to be more important than generalists when it comes to marketing. I think we're living in a world where with the tools that are continuing to come out with AI, it's really going to be about who's the best at one thing, and then how do you leverage the rest of the tooling available to be sufficient at the others.
I love that. I think my answer is marketing needs to say no more often, and that a marketer's job is constraint, is the ability to know what bets to make, but to make fewer of them. And I know that would have gotten me fired in probably any of the jobs I've ever had, because no boss wants to hear the word no, or that you cannot produce exponential to the expectations. All right, next question. What is a truth that college presidents do not want to hear right now?
Yeah, for many college presidents, it's unlikely you're going to be successful unless you're willing to risk a vote of no confidence from the academy. And so if you want to be, you have to put that on the table as a situation you're willing to embrace.
If you're not leading the AI conversation at your college or university, you're just jeopardizing the whole freaking thing. You're jeopardizing your team, you're jeopardizing your staff, and you're jeopardizing your students. College presidents should be the most vocal advocates for being very clear about how their college or their university is responding to AI, and they should be leading these conversations, not reacting to them.
Mm-hmm. And our best case examples in this industry are top down, president-led AI initiatives. So I absolutely co-sign that. My response to this one is that there's a hard truth around if your enrollment is down, the fix lives upstream of your creative teams, and you cannot outmarket a misaligned program. You can't advertise your way out of value that is not clear to your audience, and you can't optimize demand for something a student no longer believes pays off. All right, last question. What's one role most marketing teams should not hire for in 2026? Zach.
Someone to build basic marketing assets. So the person that was building the landing page or the email template, if that person was pseudo-technical, which in many cases they are, I think that's a role that is going very, very soon, if not has already gone.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Seth?
In almost all cases, you should never hire paid media in-house.
Why do you say that?
To me, the platforms are shifting, and we've inherited paid accounts from several institutions that tried to build their own paid teams. They don't pay enough to keep the caliber of talent that drives the kind of performance needed, and the bosses managing them within an institution don't have the experience to actually know if the campaigns are being effectively deployed. It can be done. I built an in-house paid team at a university, so it's not to say it's off the table, but that is the last thing you bring in. Leadership doesn't have the acumen. You don't pay enough to keep the talent, and the platforms are shifting too much for a single channel expert to really hold hold your campaign up.
Preach. Zach, I don't want to forget about the fact that we put a pin in your points around the evolution of creators. So I just want to toss this one back to you and let you sound off on this.
So this is something I'm seeing pop up in the travel world, which is where I spend a lot of my time now, but also across myriad industries. You're seeing thematic accounts pop up on social, right? As opposed to just creator accounts. And thematic accounts are garnering a lot of attention. They essentially act like an influencer, but around a core theme. So, you could think about this as like, the jocks of University X, right? Or the nerds of college Y or whatever. And I actually think from a marketing leadership perspective, it's worth figuring out how do you launch some of these accounts that are associated with your institution, because then it's not tied to a single individual, which can be challenging for a number of reasons. But these accounts grow in popularity month over month, and so I think the future of creator marketing will also look like it'll still certainly be individual, but you'll also see more and more of these thematic accounts pop up, garner millions of followers, and really allow your institution a platform to talk about a bunch of different things across different student types and different personas, and have a little bit more maybe control than you might otherwise have over a single creator.
Ooh. Seth, what's your response to that?
I just super interesting. I love that approach. I agree. The one thing I would say too is I would love to see thematic accounts that are also non-branded, meaning that don't gatekeep that it's only at X institution. That is a great one for your current community. I love that idea. And then also though, if you're a leader in engineering, it's you can come up with an awesome thematic account for engineering that lets you reach so many people that are obsessed about the subject that you're already an expert in. And it's still a bit of a land grab in the thematic account area. It's a really good call out. I'm going to note that one and think about that.
Ooh, love it. All right, guys, we've made it to the end of the episode and we are going to fast forward. It's 100 episodes from now. And as we established at the top of the episode, we're all hanging out doing this in front of a live audience. We're back on the mic and we're recording that 200th episode. So in that moment, the audience is full of CMOs. What do you think that person sitting there is going to wish that they had started after listening to our podcast today?
One, therapy. Two, really good self-wellness regime and routine. No, I will give you one hot take to this. There is such a shift going on in marketing right now and such a pressure on performance that we are retreating into the old playbook, which still does work, but is search and social and is very paid and attribution driven. I believe the future of search is going to require a world that is increasingly about reputation and referral. And I actually think there's going to be a renaissance for real brand, not brand like creative brand and headlines and taglines, but is your product amazing and do people love it? And how do you make sure the people that experience it love it so much they talk about it? And I worry, myself included, that the pressure on revenue and performance is pushing us into a transactional world that is going to decay. And so 5 years from now, maybe for sure, 2 years, we'll see. But I think people are going to regret not spending more in actual brand. And I don't mean awareness marketing. I mean actual brand. And I think that's a boat that a lot of us are going to miss.
Yeah, so well said, Seth. Mine's, I think, much more specific and tactical. I think people are going to regret not sitting down with their teams and doing the work of figuring out how to practically use these tools for your job, not just how to prompt ChatGPT, not just sending your folks to some YouTube course on prompt engineering, right? Or some higher ed specific course on that, but actually sitting down, bringing everyone's laptops together, opening up Replit, right? Opening up Claude and saying, hey, let me show you, right? Let's learn together how to take everything that we did, pre-AI for Conflow development, for design of these email assets, for design of these conversion landing pages for paid social and paid search. And let's work on building these together. And I think there's so much fear, there's so much misunderstanding, right? There's so much, you try things once, and if it doesn't work perfectly, you think, I'm not smart enough, or, I don't have the time or the resources, or I must be doing something wrong, right? And then everyone's scared to admit that they don't actually know how to use these tools in the way that they should know how to use these tools. And so I think the biggest regret will be, from a CMO perspective, will be not investing the time and resources and energy to calm fears, to work alongside collaboratively with each other. Because if you can do that, the amount of margin that you can unlock for your teams, right? The amount of additional resources you can unlock for your institution is truly significant. So I think that'll be a core regret from leaders in a year from now.
You know, I bet there are people listening to this podcast right now that wish 100 episodes ago they had started that exact process. So y'all, if you take anything away, the time is now to get going on that. Guys, this went by way too quickly. I am so grateful for your time and your energy, your legacy, and the fact that you were willing to hop back on the mic and do this fun little episode with me to celebrate the 100th milestone. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Seth?
Thank you for having me back. I loved doing this with you, Mallory. It was always fun. You know, congratulations, Zach, on building something that's still thriving so many years later. That's just so impressive. And I just am grateful I got to be a super small part of something super cool.
No, just thank you. I mean, it's so fun when you see something on LinkedIn of a face I've never seen who's hosting a podcast on the network. And it's wildly exciting to just see how you in particular, Mallory, have really championed the brand. And so super thankful to you and the Element team and everyone else for continuing to grow this beyond anything I could have ever imagined initially. So appreciate the time.
Amazing. Well, guys, you're on the hook for episode 200. So I'll see you in roughly 100 weeks. No, I'm kidding. All right. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Pulse. The show is a proud member of the Enrollify Network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow. So be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.